Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and Free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
And I want to introduce the guest to my right, who does his own method of his business, his own of making change. Welcome to Street Soldiers, Mr. Ashanti Branch.
Hello. Glad to be here.
How you doing, man?
So
Good to
glad
see
to
you,
be
man.
here again. Thank
Good to
you
see
all.
you. It's been a while, and it's not my fault, because this brother's been
busy.
Not everywhere, everywhere. You know, it's like everywhere. Everywhere. Man, is there a place? So I texted him, he said, I just got on a plane from India.
Yeah.
Whoa.
India.
It was beautiful.
I know. I'm jealous. Well, I ain't jealous. I'm envious. I ain't envious. Yes, I am. Okay, so India. How'd you get to India?
Yeah, so there's a program called the Hive Global Leaders Program, and I presented at several conferences here in the Bay Area, and now people in different parts of the world are creating their own Hive events. So they invited me to present. I was there in Hive, India, actually the one in February, and they invited me back.
Yeah, I thought you were there. This was your second trip.
Yeah.
Oh, they
for
love you,
Hive.
man. You got love.
Yeah, and in 2 weeks I'll be in Romania. Eastern Europe, Hive Eastern Europe, my first time. I've never been there, so
And this is all because of the work that you do.
Yeah,
it's taking you places, the four corners of the.
Yeah, I think people are starting to be more receptive, but also open their eyes to this idea of this mask, right? And I think the world is recognizing how much we are alike.
Oh, absolutely.
But people. That's another digital devices make us think we're different,
right.
you know?
Yeah, we're definitely more alike and we're different.
That's right.
Well, India, just a little bit. You gotta tell me a little bit. I gotta live through you, man.
Yeah, so, in 2007, I did a Fulbright fellowship in India. So I was teaching math there. And so being back in India this time is just another experience. So I'm teaching global leaders who, India is doing some incredible things. And there, some folks from Nepal were there. And it was just a beautiful space of leaders who were in one of the most populous places on the planet, who were like, we need to make change.
Yeah.
There's over a billion, more than a billion people there in India, right? And so how do we make sure that we can sustain and be alive and free as well, right?
Exactly.
In a system that is very different than ours here. And they were receptive. The mask, if you look at some masks from India and some from Oakland,
it's the same.
If you don't look at the city, you wouldn't know the difference.
Because it's a universal thing.
It's a universal thing. Yeah, but they were receptive, and it was a beautiful space.
And say and forget the news, forget the pundits, forget the talking heads. You've been there, you talk to the people, and you ain't talking to the leaders. You're just talking to the folks. And the people you meet when you go, I remember being in Botswana, meeting all these young people. Man, they was just boom, instant connection, and so yeah, forget what you see on TV, people, because they're only going to present that. Go for yourself, talk to the people.
That's right.
I know you had a ball.
Oh man, and in December I was in Nigeria for Hive as well. So that was my first time in Africa.
Were you in Lagos?
Lagos,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, busy
mind
city.
blowing. Busy city.
Yes, I've been there.
Busy city.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Mind blowing. I think just the people. just when you walk down the street, you know, everyone looks like you, and then you're just like, they're saying hi, and they're hello, hi, hello, hello.
The only reason that's different is you open your mouth. You see your cousin, you see your uncle, you go to the market. Oh man, I love.
Oh man,
that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And even more wonderful because of why you're there. I mean, you're not just a tourist. You're out there, you know, which is okay. You can travel, but you're there promoting the work, helping people, essentially helping people. And now people are wondering, who is this guy? So I said his name. He's going to give a little bit, but the organization you run is the Ever Forward Club.
Yes.
And I'm just going to read a little bit from it, and then I'm going to let you take it. But then I want you to go back in your background, born and raised, the whole bit, because a lot of folks out there don't know who you are. The Ever Forward Club, which is your organization. At the Ever Forward Club, we believe that all young men have the desire to be fully alive, to be loved, respected, held in high regard, held to high expectations, held accountable for their actions, and supported to help achieve their goals. But too many young men, particularly underserved and at-risk young men of color, have been forced to hide the dreams and hopes within them. They think they have it all figured out. They don't, and it's no secret why. Our mission is to give young men a chance to get real. And we met, and I'm going to shut up and let you talk, through this film, The Mask You Live In. Yeah. And people haven't seen the film, please see the film.
Please.
By the way, Judy Chu is listening.
Yeah, Judy, hello.
And I remember the first time we saw it, we were like, man, they as my grandma would say when she cooked, they put their foot in it.
That's right.
That is an awesome film about males and masculinity. And I would just say there's a lot of great scenes in there, but the scene you did with the young people at Fremont, right?
Yeah, Fremont
High School
High, yeah.
is the one that grabs as much as any scene in there with the young people. So with all that introduction,
before he does, I'm just gonna jump in. I'm gonna read a stanza from a poem written by Paul Laurence Dunbar. You know that?
Oh man,
you already know what's gonna happen.
Let's do it.
Just to give you, wait a minute. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. So I won't read the last stanza, but just to give you a taste of the work that he's done and the foundation of that in relation to what you did in that documentary.
Yeah.
So now, Mr. Branch.
go for it.
You know, first let me say, Dr. Marshall, that, you know, when I first met you at the screening, it was at USF, I think.
Yeah.
And so I saw you in the documentary. I got to go to Sundance to be a part of that, the screening. And when I saw you in the documentary, I was like, oh, that means I'm going to get to meet him. I have been listening to you since I was in high school. I went to Fremont High School. So when I was back at Fremont High School and doing this work, it was just like, wait a minute, that voice. And when I was in the room at the USF, and I'm like, oh, he's here. Somebody's going to introduce me. And I tell you, I'm so thankful and I'm honored to be here. I was a 17-year-old senior in high school in Oakland, listening to you on the radio before I was leaving to college, and just like, okay, he's getting people to college. I'm going to go to college. I don't even know him, but I'm going to go. And I think I just want to thank you. I want to thank you. And time flies, but I'm so thankful to be here in this space with you. And I'll tell you about the story when I was 17. So I was raised by a single mother. We were poor. We were on welfare a lot of my life, and my father died before I was born. Nobody asked me my opinion about it. I just showed up here on the planet. Life was a mess, and I was supposed to figure out how to make it work.
That's a great line. Nobody asked my opinion about it.
It was hard, and I think that was like, you're supposed to just suck it up. That's what they told you. Like, just suck it up. Don't be sad about your father. Just suck it up. Tough it out. Like, what are you mad about? What are you sad about? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel it. Like, and so you have to learn how to like get rid of these empathic feelings, because you're told that they're not masculine. They're not men. And my mom did the best she could. She couldn't raise me to be a man. She could tell me, here are the qualities you should have that makes a good man, but how to do that? How do you be strong and tough and have all the answers? How do you like keep showing up when people are talking bad about you? How do you face adversity? How do you deal with fear? Well, you're not supposed to have fear. But how do you deal with it when you actually feel it? And so I was 17 years old, and mom and her husband at the time were having this argument. I got home from wrestling practice, and they were having this battle, and it was always words, so I just heard it. But in this day, it was something different. And that day, I think it was a lot of the words I heard from you, but I know that I ended up seeing my mom hit the floor in this battle, and I went to my friend's house around the corner, who wasn't on his way to college, and I asked him to give me a gun.
Oh, I understand.
And I was like, it wasn't until I got back to my house and I was getting ready to get out of my car with this paper bag. If you knew me at that time, you know I never touched a gun.
Right.
I didn't even know what to do with it. I just knew I was mad enough, and I was told that I could be mad, but I couldn't do sad. What do I do with sadness? What do I do with fear? Like, I went in with all the strength in my hands to try and protect her, but I couldn't even protect her with my own strength. And I was in this moment of like, what in the heck do I do? And if I grabbed that paper bag, getting ready to get out of the car, and I just literally saw the front page of the Oakland Tribune, and it was like, college-bound senior, future over. College-bound athlete destroys his future in seconds. And every time I see an article of a student in high school, a college, who right before their next moment about to throw it away in that transition phase, I feel it, because I was almost there, and I was not there because I was out there. I wasn't a bad kid. I was on my way to college, but I had no emotional tools. I had no emotional tools. I was supposed to always pretend like I had all the answers. I was always cool and tough and strong, but no one taught me how to deal with fear.
All the things boys are taught.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I was about to turn it into anger, because anger was respected, and anger was what I knew how to do really well. And I think,
in fact, let's put it like this: you would have been co-signed for doing that. I understand, man.
I'm a protector.
You're messing with your mom, right?
You're protecting your mom.
I mean, they wouldn't visit you in jail, but they would co-sign.
It would be like that's you stood up for your mom, right?
Yeah.
But what do you do? And so I think in that moment, and what I think about today, and every time I talk to young men, I'm like, if you don't have a place to talk about that stuff that you're dealing with for real, then you're bottling it up. And what happens, I think, is like energy. There's only so much energy that can store inside of you, especially when it's destructive energy. And either you're going to take it out on yourself, substances, drugs, alcohol, rampant relationships that you're not really caring about, or you can take it out on others, violence, other substances, selling drugs. Like, what are the things you do to deal with the pain? I think it has to go somewhere. And so our work has just been about how do we give young men in our primary work with a space to just talk about being alive and being the fact that I'm going through stuff, and I don't have to like pretend like everything's good when it's not. It's okay to not be okay. And so when it's not okay, do I have a safe place to talk about it? When it's okay, it's always easy. You can talk about when you're doing great all day long. But do you have a safe place to go, or a place to go when you say, I'm not doing so hot today. It's not a good day. I'm having a rough time. When
did you take all of that and formalize it into Ever Forward?
Yeah, so I left engineering to become a teacher. I was teaching a first-year teacher in San Lorenzo High School, and there was a young man in my class, super smart. Like, I left engineering because teaching called me, you know? And when I got into that classroom, I was like, why are these smart young men failing my class? Like, you can't fail my class. Like, I wasn't going to blame you for failing my class. I was like, something's wrong with me, because I'm smart. I know math. I can teach math, but you're not learning it. And I know you're smart. You're smarter than I was at your age. And so I realized that I got to do something different than what class can do. It can't happen in the context of class, because class is only going to, I got you for 50 minutes or an hour or whatever. I got to teach 35 kids. I can't really stop and deal with your thing that you're dealing with. So I needed to find a new space to do it. So I invited some young men to lunch. I said, look, I'll buy you lunch once a week. In exchange for lunch, you teach me how to be a better teacher. Like, tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Wow.
Because you're smart and I'm smart. So why are two smart people creating failure?
What a novel approach to young people.
And they liked lunch. And they showed up. Yeah. And that lunch turned into just a conversation every Thursday. Portable 8. They knew. We come, we just check in, how we're doing. We only have like 40 minutes, but we got food every week. And I was just figuring it out. I had some engineering money at the time still. that went away kind of quick when you're feeding teenagers. But I realized that it was what I was called to do. And it had to happen outside of the classroom. They weren't going to sit and talk about what they were really going through in class. So I needed another space. And so that's how Ever Forward started. And that journey just took it to another level. And I didn't know what I was doing. If you told me I was starting a nonprofit, I would have said, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Why would a teacher who barely makes enough money to pay your bills try and start a program where you got to now hunt for your money every month?
That sounds familiar.
Why would you do that?
I understand.
And I was blown away, and I realized, okay, I'm following the next thing that I'm called to do in my life, because I know that I never wanted to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher. We were broke. So why would I go and do a job that I know is going to have me financially not well? When I was already in the job that's making good money, I realized my life is to exist to give back. That's what I did.
What am I saying? I'm almost speechless because it's so close to what we do. It's the same thing. It's not even so close. But I'm looking at the places that this has taken you and the lives you've been able to touch. So when you say India and Romania and the universality of what you do, you couldn't have imagined, that lunch with that young man would allow you to help everybody everywhere.
Not even. And I think you're going to meet one of the young men who was one of our first members in Ever Forward. You're going to meet one of the young men who was actually in the documentary, who's in that. And so I think what I didn't know, I just said, let me do the very next thing I can think to do that makes sense. It's kind of like that very next step. Okay, I think that I'm going to go back to school and become a teacher. What? It was a hard battle to make, but I was clear once that first day of teaching, this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. It was hard, but I was clear that this is the work that was calling me. And so, the documentary, those young men in that room, when I first did the mask activity, I wasn't trying to create a global campaign. I was like, there's 8 young men in here who never get real. They're going to come and film. And I'm like, they don't open up. They just kind of lie to each other. They all say I'm doing great, and they're not. Because I was a dean, so I knew what was really happening deep down in a lot of them. And I was like, well, I got to find a way for them to talk about it without talking about it.
How did Jennifer Seibel Newsom, Governor Newsom's wife, is the one who did the film? How did she find you? How did you find her? What was your thought when she first said, I'm making this movie, and it involves what men, and how did that happen?
Yeah, so I was at this program called the Young Men's Ultimate Weekend. I had taken 18 young men from Fremont High there. And after we came out of the mountains, it's a 3-day rites of passage weekend for young men. A woman there said, hey, Ashanti, I've been hearing about your work. I'm working on this documentary. I want to talk to you about it. I'm like, sure. And, I had been doing Ever Forward for 10 years at that point. Mm-hmm. I've been hunting for money, hunting for help, hunting for support, not much coming through. And so I'm always saying, yes, okay, I look forward to meet. And the week after she called and she said, hey, I'm going to set up a conversation with you and Jennifer Seibel Newsom. I'm like, okay, great. So I went to the studio, had a conversation, and then it was like, it started moving. And then I was like, oh, this is real. And I thought, when they said documentary, I thought they were going to come in with a little camcorder in the room, right? And they were going to see our students. They had. So where do we put our equipment?
Full scale production.
I was like, what equipment? You just need a camera. They're like, no, we have stuff.
Yeah.
I had to find a room for them at Fremont High to put the stuff. I was like, oh boy. And I was more nervous, but all I knew that my job was to support these young men in this experience. And when it worked, I was blown away.
I tell you, people, there's a lot in the film. It's all good, but that scene.
Oh, man.
I mean, we've shown it to young people, and look, it's one thing I always say: if you say it, if I say it, but when other young people are saying it, or as I say, take the mask off.
That's right.
And do it. It goes places. It just hits them. Hits them, and this I got to say, man, that if there was an Academy Award for a scene in the documentary.
Well, those eight young men right there just inspired me to keep moving forward. So since that 8 masks we collected in that room, we've collected over 39,000 masks from 12 countries. Wow. And it's I don't have a marketing team. I'm trying to figure out how to share the story in a bigger way, but we're excited about the next phase, and so we have a digital way that educators can get involved, and so it makes it. We set a goal of 100,000. I didn't have a plan of when to hit 100,000. I was like, okay, we'll hit it one day, and something just said, go for it. So we're pushing hard this year. Our goal is to hit it by June 2020. We're at 39,000 right now. We're going to get it. We got 60,000 to go. I have a feeling that this next phase of it is going to absolutely transform how our educators see our students, and how our students see our educators. We have some educators that are afraid to know that their kids are and their students are human.
Yeah.
And some of them are afraid to even build relationship with their students. Now, I was a teacher, so I was an administrator too. So I've seen lots of different teachers. I've seen some teachers who would rather not know because they want to keep you in a number in their roll book and a points in a system as opposed to a human who is trying to figure out to do the best you can. Mm-hmm. And I think my work is about helping break down that for teachers too. And I take teachers through the exact same mask activity, because if they can't get clear about their own mask, how can a kid who's struggling ever get connected to theirs?
I know there are folks who are listening and are saying, what exactly is this mask? How would you, I don't want to say define, summarize the mask that and we're talking about men in this case, wear?
Yeah. And we're talking about our mask that we do, the activity, the campaign is for everyone, but the way the mask activity works is the idea of what is it that you let people see about you? What are the qualities, characteristics of yourself that when you leave out of the house or to go out to the world, here are the qualities of yourself that you gladly let people see? And then if you get clear about what you let people see, then we ask you the next part, which is sometimes a little harder. So what are the things about yourself you don't let people see? What are some of those things or characteristics or qualities or experiences that you don't even talk about? And what we find is that we try and tell people, look, there's a spectrum of things that you don't talk about or let people see. Maybe it's just because no one ever asks. Maybe things you will be willing to talk about, but no one ever asks, so it just never comes up. And then you may have the other end of the spectrum where you say, I don't talk about it. I'm never going to talk about it. And that's fine. So we tell people, look, find a space where you feel comfortable and write those things. And what we've seen with 39,000 folks who have made masks is that people will go there if you ask them. The tool is anonymous, but when they get to recognize they're not alone, that there's other people probably in the same room, in the same city, in the same classroom, in the same building, in the same company, in the same team, who are dealing with similar stuff, but we've been taught that the mask is to protect us, and it maybe is. And we don't judge masks. We're not telling people they shouldn't have masks. I got mine. But where do we go to make sure that we can take it off? Do you have at least one person that you can get real with? You have at least one person who says, you know what, I'm here for you.
My line about that film is that for 90 minutes, men in this case, all ages, all nationalities, you know, guys in jail, guys in this, took the mask off.
That's right.
And they let us see what's really going on. But you and I know that at the end of that 90 minutes, they put the mask back on. So it's just not a matter of, you know, of letting it out for that moment.
Yeah.
But then it means how do you live without that mask? How you get to be who you really want to be, how you really are, to deal with all of those feelings. Not that is a bigger work, right? It's like, you know, like talking to a dude who used to be on the street, and you don't have to do this, but what am I going to do? So this is what you can do. This is what, but that was never really you in the first place.
Right,
I mean, all of this works, but the growth of what you're doing and the need to do it, because, and I'll just say from the man's side, this is men. I always say if we could stop get that mask right, there wouldn't be any domestic violence.
Yeah,
they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't even do it. I always say when we deal with the victims, but we don't deal with the perpetrators, right? If we really want to stop stuff, and I'm talking as a man now, got to stop us from doing, because a lot of that stuff is behind the mask.
That's right.
And
it's the anger, right?
You.
It's the anger that's in a society that says men can be angry and it's okay, but men can't be sad. If I'm having a problem in my relationship and I'm not feeling like I'm able to provide the way that I want to provide, or I'm not able to be the man I really want to be in the relationship, then what do I do with that? That's not anger. It wasn't rooted in anger, but it may be rooted in sadness and fear of losing my partner. And then what do? I'm going to turn it into, like, I'm not going to be sad, at least if society doesn't let you. If you've been told and follow that prescription that says, here's how you have to show up.
Yeah, I know how I was raised.
Oh, man.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2, Alive and Free Radio, Street Soldiers, having a wonderful, wonderful conversation with my man. Man, you got one. You got to get you some awards, brother. And it's only because you know what's good about awards. It's a recognition of the work.
Yeah.
And I remember I got I was like, people said, but it ain't about me, it's about the work. People saying the work is great. You know, it's wonderful. And I can't, so the Ever Forward Club and the work he does, particularly around the mask that we all wear, particularly, and he deals, I would say this one thing, Ever Forward Club mentors young men of color in middle and high school by providing them with safe, brave communities that build character and transform lives. And then he talks about the work that he does. Before he goes off, he'll tell you where to get more information. But if you just, I think it's still on Netflix. The Mask You Live In. It kind of goes on and off.
Yeah, it's like iTunes and Apple Play and Google.
Is it all that?
Amazon Prime.
The Mask You Live In, the whole movie is about males and masculinity and the masks that we, and I say we wear. The scene in there with Ashanti and the Ever Forward Club is riveting. It's wonderful. And it's young men talking about how they really, really, really feel. And we've been joined by 3 young men. And
you recognize him from the documentary?
Yeah. I was looking at him like, do I know you? So why don't each of you just come to the mic, say your name, who you are, how you met Ashanti, and we'll just do that right now, and then we'll get more into, and then I'll have him talk about how he met you. Okay. Go right ahead. Say
hello, my name is Victor Elizalde Jr. Oh, my bad. Hello, my name is Victor Elizalde Jr. I am 16 years old. I met Ashanti through my middle school, where at Academy of Alameda, and like we had an Ever Forward Club there, so I joined, and I'm glad I joined to this day.
We'll start there.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
who's next?
My name is Darnell Waters. I'm the one that was in the Mask You Live In. I met Mr. Branch when I was in 11th grade at Fremont High School, and he forced me to be in the Ever Forward Club. Just say that.
For your own good. That's what good adults do.
Lord. How can I talk both of these great young gentlemen over here right now? So my name is Francis Comerford, aka DJ Francois. I just started my production company, Still S Productions, but I joined Ever Forward Club back when it originated. I was one of the founding members. I was one of the ones who we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know what was going to be. I signed up and I put all of my faith in Ashanti Branch when I was in my algebra class. I gave so much love to this man, not only because of the fact that he looked at me with so much like potential. He cared about me so much, but I looked at him with like so much potential because I knew what this was going to grow into and what it was going to become. So I'm one of the original members. I'm an alumni now. I graduated out of the program, and now I'm coming back as a mentor for these young men. And once again, Francois, talk to y'all.
In your words, each of you, describe what Ever Forward means to you. What do you think is the club and what he's trying to accomplish? How would you describe it?
I would describe it as like a community where no one's different, and like where we probably could have the same problems, have the same like issues, so we won't feel alone. So we won't feel like, oh, I'm doing this all by myself, and like I have no one to talk to. But when you're in Ever Forward, you have a group of people to talk to. You have brothers. It's a brotherhood. It's not a group. It's a family all together. And it's like words can't explain how much Ever Forward like is. 'Cause it's such a good organization. It's a family. I'm glad to be in it, and it's crazy.
You should see the smile on your face as you say this. You see, I'm reacting because working with young people for years, I see so much of the other, right? And you don't even know you're doing that because you found joy in this organization and with these other people. And again, see, that's the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the other stuff. In fact, there's some bunch of stuff going on in Oakland this weekend. I don't know if you heard it. There's all kind of shooting. Oh, you know what's going on. That's not supposed to happen. This is what's supposed to happen. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
How would you, just in your own words, describe it?
I would say Ever Forward is just being real. Like when I was in high school, I used to think I was a real dude, but I guess when I met Mr. Branch, I figured out I wasn't because I wasn't telling my partners real stuff. So it was like more when you in the Ever Forward Club, it was like, all right, now it's like, even though I was the group that didn't talk, like none of us, we didn't necessarily didn't like each other, we just didn't trust each other with nothing, so we didn't talk. So it was like, when we finally did start talking, it was like, whew, like dang, that felt good. Like, woo, like I let it all. Now it's like, what's gonna happen from here, you know? So then it just only got better. So it was more just being real with yourself and the people around you. Like, you around these people, so why not let it out? Like, ain't no point of holding it in no more.
You were in the scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Did you know how that? I mean, you didn't script the scene, right?
No.
You didn't director script the scene. We're going, cut. When he put you in the room and he just did his thing, did you know what?
He warned us about the people coming, but we didn't know nothing. Like I said, we didn't talk to each other. I think we was like, for the first 3 or 4 weeks, we didn't say nothing. Like, he used to just do all the talking, and we would say, okay. And then that day he brought out that activity, and it was like, because we still wasn't talking. We was writing on a piece of paper, so it was like, all right, well, I could write it down. Well, I don't gotta say it, but I could write it down. But then when he started making us read it, it was like, even though I wasn't reading my own thing, I was reading somebody else's. I didn't know who it was, but it was like, damn, he going through the same stuff I'm going through. Like, or, he is dealing with some stuff. So it was like, oh my God. Like, now everybody just looking around, like, trying to figure out who paper we was reading. But then it was like I'm not the only one, because some people all of us put the same thing, fear and anger. All of us put anger. Yeah. Every boy in that room put anger on there. And it was like, dang, like, all of us hella mad. Like, I don't know, it was crazy.
To tell everybody what go to Mike and describe that scene itself and the activity that you did, and just tell people.
Yeah, so I originally I was like, well, if they're not gonna talk about it, then I'll have them write about it. So I took a picture of a mask. I just found a mask off the internet and I printed them out, and the back was blank. And I said, well, look, take this mask and on the front, write what describes you. It was the first time we'd done it. I was making up the words. Write what describes you, the things you let people see, you hold up. And then on the back, write the things that you don't let people see. And, I was just hoping that they were going to write something, right? Some of them. And so we took the pieces of paper and then we balled them up. And I said, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to hit somebody in this room with the piece of paper. Yeah, and we just started throwing the pieces of paper at each other. And then I said, okay, pick up a paper. And we were there for about, the scene is like 3 minutes on the documentary, but we were there about half an hour, 45 minutes. And when they started opening those papers up and realizing that the back was similar stuff that was theirs, and they didn't know whose was whose, but you could see them looking around, and when they started reading them off, it just really. Now I couldn't see what Darnell was doing because I was on this side and the camera was on this side. But when I saw the documentary, that's when I actually really saw it, like all the things that were happening in the room at the time. I felt it. I felt things were dropping in. Yeah. I felt they get quiet right after they started reading the back, and I think they realized that. They were hiding the stuff that I think one of the young men said, you got to keep your poker face on. You can't let people see what you got, right? Because they'll take advantage of you. If people know that you can be sad, then they'll do stuff to make you sad, and then you are weak, and then if you're weak, then you get preyed upon, and then all the things that just stack up against you. So when they finally got that space to just like, we're human in here. And that's when, oh man, I was just flowing from just the energy in that room, and it was, oh my goodness, it was beautiful. And every time I see it, I'm just like, I totally remember. Yeah, it's just, and I think one of the things we see is that, if we can give more young men earlier a chance to recognize they are not alone. I think it sounds like a cliche a lot of times, but to recognize that you are going through stuff and other people are too. And especially with social media now, it's even harder, right? Because all they do is look for clicks and likes. They're trying to do behaviors that may not even feel good to do, but they say, well, this is going to make people give me some clicks and likes. And so they're hunting for this approval and acceptance. And I love social media, so I'm not talking bad about it. But if we don't,
I talk bad about it.
Well, if we don't, I just think that
if you use it the way it's used, right? Sure, exactly. It can be used for good.
Absolutely. I'm just talking about the unintended consequences, right? Yeah. Of if I value my only worth is if no one likes my stuff, then my self-worth becomes diminished. Then I'm using it for not the intended use as entertainment, and now it's becoming use of my value. Oh, no one liked myself, I'm going to delete these pictures. I have one young man, he deleted every picture except the top 7 that got the most likes. I'm like, what happened to all your pictures? I was trying to make him a graduation book, and I was going to pull all these pictures off. All the pictures were gone. I'm like, what happened to all your pictures? Man, I was a kid in those pictures. Well, yeah, you were. I mean, what are you talking about? Yeah, of course you were. But only 7 pictures were left. I'm like, you had 100 or something? So it's this idea that I'm going to curate my life based on what I want people to think or see. And I think that those things can easily turn into weapons against ourselves.
And see, that's why the work is so important, because you're always up against it with this. Yeah. Essentially, you ask all of them, and all of us, to dare to be different. That's one of the things we say.
Yeah.
And you got to dare to be different, because, this message is only being given by a certain few.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And until you internalize this and find out, no, I'm fine. And this is good for me. Yeah. And it's really good for you, even though you don't know it's good for you.
That's right. That's right.
This will save you and save the ones you love. And I'm glad, what I'm glad about is that moment in that film stayed with you. You see, because a lot of it goes away. You get out, oh man, you bet in the locker room with your boys, and you get to get the line and all of this. And I'm thinking of just the music you listen to encourages just the opposite.
Yeah.
I love the station, but I know what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah.
So you're up against it being your authentic self. And that's really why you got to keep doing it, man, because, I know even when the young people, when they leave, they leave the club, they leave Alive and Free, and they go back back on the block. They're like, yeah, well, Dr. Wimley is here, out there. That's why it's so important that
it's armoring back up, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Absolutely. I tell them, you need to armor back up. Unfortunately, society's not ready for our young men to be all of their empathic selves yet. But we got to give them more spaces where they can do it, so that it becomes more normal. So kindness and caring and respectfulness becomes like a thing that's like, oh, that's good to do. It's good to be kind to people. It's good to be respectful. It's good to be caring. Like, why do I always have to be the other, hard, right, and tough and
all that? Man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a group, Alphabet Rockers, and they made a song, 100,000 Masks, which we were super happy about. So in that song, it talks about this idea that, there's this story that I've been told as a man growing up as a boy that I can't show no feelings. I can't let anybody feel. And what they've done is, as a part of this campaign, is like, if we can begin getting those messages out to young kids earlier, then we're not trying to undo years and years of programming and nurturing that says, don't ever show any feelings. And I think, young men, like earlier today, was it yesterday or today, a young man who I just been thinking about lately, right? And I was about to type him a message. I was like, dude, I miss you, man. And I deleted it. Because I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. So I said, hey, man. So
I got you. Yeah.
So I texted him. I changed it. I deleted the text. And I was like, hey, how you been doing? Where you been? Like, I've been thinking, And then I had to I even myself, who doesn't really care, I've been programmed to say that is actually not okay.
It's funny. I don't say I love you to my girls.
Yeah.
And I say one love to my boys, right?
Yeah.
You just used to saying that. You know, and then it was you're right. It's
programming
again.
And how do we have to? I have to be consciously careful that I'm not letting myself get sucked into the programming.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I just have to say, actually I wanted to tell you this, and I deleted it. I've been missing you. I want to hang out with you, right? And I think, how do we give the only way that they're going to get more comfortable about doing it if they see others of us of modeling it,
Yeah. Let me your thoughts about, and you may have said a lot, what would you want to say about Ever Forward and what it means?
Of course, okay.
Right. Well, I gave them a chance. Got to give you a chance.
Yeah, I can speak on it as well. So I feel that Ever Forward Club it really builds a community for young men, but not only young men. Like, even at some of the 24-hour relay events, like, it builds a community for the young women as well. Mm-hmm. It really builds this like protection around people's opinions, understanding, and feelings as well. Ever Forward is literally designed to keep the minds progressing, keep them looking beyond where they are now and where they want to be going forward. It's not designed for them to okay, let me stay stagnant, let me stay, in my feelings right now, or however I'm feeling right now, and I'm so caught up in it. It's to help them look beyond that, and what can I do to move forward from that? And so I really like stand with it, because me being one of the first, I was the guinea pig of it all. Like I'm getting tested everything out, trying to figure it all out, and then okay, that worked. Okay, look, now let's try this. But now that we figured out what worked and now what didn't work, I'm so glad that we got young men in the room right now who are like, okay, we stand by this message, and like when we believe in it like tenfold. Like that's what it's all about. Is really to bridge that gap from the people who are fearful to those who are confident, and to just make them come together as one. It shouldn't be something where like, I feel like I don't know how to speak my voice. I can't, present my message, and I don't know who I am. And then those who are like, oh, this is who I am, and I stand for what I have done, and I've done all these great things. Like, how can we make these two people come together at some level and really be able to connect those dots? It really bridges that gap between the new ones and then the vetted ones. And so, Ever Forward is literally what it stands for, Ever Forward.
That's perfect name, because that's what you want.
That's what we want.
Keep moving forward, keep evolving. Each of you, and you can throw yourself in. What messages? And I'm gonna open up the phones when we come back from where we got about 5 minutes. So let's take people back into what are you moving forward from, right? What messages were you given about being a young man or a male when you were? I know what I was given, right? I know what I was given.
So look,
I always say I grew up, and everybody know I grew up like South Central. I'm like right next to Nipsey Hussle's place. I'm there, all over LA, right? Okay. And I know what I was told.
Shout out to Nipsey, much love.
And it was so far from being ever forward.
They were trying to pull us backward, right?
Man,
trying to do something different on us.
Oh man, look
at where you are now. You still preserved, you still kept pushing forward, and you still got to where you are today.
But I would have not got there unless somebody had, as they it wasn't even, see, I don't want to use the phrase, give me some game, because the game they gave me wasn't wisdom. Somebody had to give me, like he gave you, some wisdom to show that the things, I don't be no punk, don't be no sucker, don't be no square you, all of this was like a bunch of, I can't say the word, BS. Right?
I feel like it's that willpower, it's that drive. It's someone who pushed you beyond what you knew what you were capable of.
Oh, absolutely. And it has to be someone that brings it to you, because you don't know.
You don't know where you're going.
And when you're around everybody else who thinks the same way as you,
carpool,
but really don't think that way anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that whole, like we're all, look, I remember we had a bunch of young people in here one day, and we were telling them to talk about themselves, and they said, man, I ain't telling
nothing. I ain't telling
my, I said, well, these are your friends. And they said, I don't care if they're my friends. I don't want my, like, they wouldn't tell their business if they said, we don't trust anybody.
Hey, we need to sign them up for Ever Forward Club.
Oh,
tonight.
They learned. But the good thing is that they said, we don't trust anybody, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, well, these are your friends. We don't trust your friends. And at that moment, I realized how alone they are.
That's a lonely life.
Oh, it's a completely lonely life.
Yeah.
Which is and again, but you're saying, but when you said no, let's just tell the truth about all of this. But and no, it's this is so important, because, like I say, so much of this stuff you mentioned 94%. I always say girls, I use this a lot. In fact, it's one of my top. Girls go to college, boys go to jail, right? and I ask the kids to tell me why, right? And they say, why you said, Dr. Marshall? Well, on the college campus, particularly black college campus, you got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls to every young man. But the prisons, it's the opposite. Yeah. And so, guys, But it's because you believed in this hype as Chuck D said, you believed the hype in the first place, but it's not packaged like hype. It's packaged about what the film says, like, this is how to be a man. And all boys want to be a man. And they trying to teach you how to be a man, but you ain't really being taught how to be a man. A lot of times you've been taught how to go to jail.
So Darrell says something that I don't know if we all picked up on, but he said there was only 2 things that came up on those masks. And then what was it? Anger and
fear.
And fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's it. Anger and fear. It wasn't like, a confidence. It wasn't, strength. It was, anger and fear. And those are the 2 things that are like, literally steering that steering wheel into the jails. It's because we're all trying to like have this guard up, have this protection up, and have this mask, literally this mask. But that's not who we really are. Like we're really like driving ourselves towards that direction.
It's a false bravado, but like you tapping into, it's a universal false bravado. The film showed everybody, and when you go to India, when you go to Romania, when you go to these places, that's why, look, right now what you're saying, you could go over there. And I've done this. I've been to South Africa just talking to be like, how you know what's going on with us? Because it's universal. This stuff is universal. And it's wonderful that you get to be the bearers of his messages that can save them, and you don't have to be trying, you just got to tell them the truth. All you've ever done is that day in that room, you guys told each other the truth. And what's it say in the Bible? The truth will
set you free.
Set you free. We got to go to break.
We got about 30 seconds.
You wanted to ask a question now. Oh, I guess you lost it, huh? No. You got 30. Well, we can do it when you come back.
You got 29.
Which one you want to do? You want to do it now? Yeah, go ahead, Bree. Go ahead.
Okay, be real quick. Okay, so of course, therapy is something that we don't talk about. I guess it's something that's not discussed between men. Am I right? So, in the sessions, is therapy ever like brought up during the conversations? And has any of like the young men have seeked therapy after revealing their masks and everything?
Great question. No, I would say it doesn't necessarily come up as a topic of like you should get therapy. I think one of the things that our community does is that we have some negative thoughts about what it means to have mental health issues, right? I think we need to rebrand it. It's like muscles. Your mind needs to be strengthened as well as your body, and I think that we don't often do that. And so I think our young men hide, or they say, I'm not crazy. Oh, I got to go talk to somebody. And it's like, no, we're not saying... We're always saying it's like we need to build our muscle of our mind as well as we do. And we can't build our muscle of our mind in a state of distress. We got to have a place where we can go and work it. And so I think that we don't necessarily talk. We're not therapists. We're just mentors. Right. And so, but I think that what we do is when young men say they're going through something that we are at the end of our rope, we say, look, we need to have you talk to someone who can get you some help that I can't provide.
Okay, we continue our discussion with Ashanti Branch, the Ever Forward Club, and 3 of the young men that he has worked with over the years. We want to give you a chance to get in 800-765-3437. You have any questions about Ever Forward, any questions about males, masculinity, anything about this mask? Maybe you want to call and talk about your mask. Please do so. And we got line 1, we got Hakeem. Hakeem, thank you for giving us a call. You're on with the Ashanti Branch and Ever Forward.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. This is Hakeem at the Hidden Genius Project. Just want to say I'm proud of Ashanti. I know Ashanti. He's my neighbor for like 20 years.
Hey, brother.
Right next door. And always saw Ashanti working with young men. And I think this predates the Ever Forward Club. So just want to go ahead and say congratulations to all the work that you've done. But my question is, being that we do similar work, working with young men of color here in the Bay Area and then abroad, how important do you think it is for similar organizations to collaborate, being that there are only a few of us? When you think of Oakland, I can think of 2 of them organizations, including the organizations that we represent. And how important is the collaborative spirit to bring more holistic services and programming for young men of color, as we can't do it all by ourselves, but nobody else is edging us out the way to do it, right? There's no competition because the work is so hard. And the second piece of that, can you talk about how you may deal with some of the pain that you take on while dealing with the youth, and what do you do for self-care so you can come back and be fresh for the young men every time they see you?
Great question. Thank you.
Brother Hakeem, man, it's so good to hear from you. You know, I want to say, first of all, that thank you. And the work that you all are doing in Hidden Genius, I am in awe of the work you all are doing.
Oh, just Hidden Genius? Yeah,
Hidden Genius, brother, man. So I have been, every time I see your posts, I'm sharing them. I am all about collaboration, and I think one of the challenges in the Bay Area is that so many organizations are doing things, and sometimes people feel this scarcity, like So anytime I hear about a grant, I'm sharing it with whoever I think can benefit. And I don't know that it always happens like that around the Bay Area. So I'm ready. I'm telling you the truth. I never wanted to start a nonprofit. If somebody would have said, I got a job for you where you could build the dream you have about supporting the young people in your community, and they would have hired me, I would have took a job. The work of the nonprofit, if you are out there and you thinking about you want to start a nonprofit, please think hard whether you really want to be starting a nonprofit. Because I think not only are they beneficial, but the work behind the scenes to keep the organization running is so intense. Like, I spend so much more time trying to think about raising money, and it pulls me away from the work that I feel like I'm the best at, which is like creating experiences. So, man, I'm ready to collaborate, first of all. Second of all, I think that we have, I'm just, as much as I can keep supporting and sharing your work, I'll keep doing that. But I would love for us to do something together. I've been hoping that ever since I met you all. So that's my thought around that. So I'm glad you called in, brother.
And self-care.
And self-care. Oh, yeah. And I'm still working. I think I wasn't going to answer that one because I'm not good at that one. I'm still working on that one. But I'm getting better at it. I think I definitely I'll work until I can't work anymore. I'll work until I fall asleep at the computer sometimes, and so that's not really good. But also, I don't know any better sometimes. So I'm like, as a small organization, you're constantly trying to just get things done, and you're never finished. So it's like, okay, I can crank out another couple emails tonight, and so I'm working on self-care. I'm like learning how to step away. Like one of my mentors said, look, you should be stopping work at a certain time and then just do nothing. And I think I have a thing in my mind that if I'm doing nothing, I'm being lazy. And so it's my own self-net messages that I got to work on. But I'm working on that, man. One of my buddies and myself, we do this thing called Radical Self-Care Days. So once a month, we get together and we go get a massage. We go and walk around the lake, and we just we hold each other accountable. And if I have to cancel, he has to go on his own, and then I have to make it up. And we hold each other accountable to that like once a month. And I know it's probably not enough once a month, but it's the start. And so if you ever want to come out and come on a Radical Self-Day Care with us, it's like a couple of hours. We just hang out just to get away from the work and be able to just support each other. You're welcome to come, brother.
Mm-hmm. Hakeem, you there? Oh, you hung up. I think what can be done, and that great program, they've been on the air, on the show, is folks who do this work do need to support each other. And just say, man, keep doing it. You're doing what you're doing. Everybody, it's funny, I've heard this saying, everybody needs encouragement, right? Yeah. Everybody needs to know that. And let's talk about that. That'd be a good thing to get all of us in the room just to say, keep on doing what you're doing.
That'd be beautiful.
But I was going to add, what you're doing is not a program thing, right? The universality of the mask is something anybody. So if you're working with young men in particular, they got to deal with, they got this, they're there. Right. So what you do is anybody can be taught, get this message. I mean, I just stop the violence. That's my thing, right? But in the stopping the violence, got to deal with the mask.
That's right.
So it's the universality of these issues that you're dealing with. And, so I hope Hakeem hears that.
And we do it for the leaders, too. I mean, our workshops, we want the leaders, because we need the leaders to also deal with sometimes we just don't have a chance. We're supposed to be superheroes and never stop, right? Because the work are always going to call, right? The young people bring in their stuff. They're telling us, we take it in. I never knew, until I found myself in Kaiser once because I had taken in so much stuff. Right. I never knew how to even dispel myself from all the stuff. I was taking all the young people's stuff in and just holding it for them. I was holding space for them, but I was holding it in, and I never knew that I needed to also let it out. And I think if we don't make sure we have the leaders taking care of ourselves, then we're not going to be around to do the work.
Absolutely.
And that's why
you do want to be around to do the work.
I want to be around to do the work. That's right.
800-765-3437. The next one is this Gina? Gina?
Yes.
You are on. Thank you for calling. Go right ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry. I'm just a concerned mom, and I wanted to have my son. I'm more concerned about his feelings, how he feels about life. It's just he's a very intelligent young man. He's put himself through school. He's been a child who's never wanted Mama to do anything for him. He's always wanted to do it on his own, and I'm very proud of him for that. But now he's going to a stage in his life where he's 24, and it's hard for him to find happiness. He works 2 jobs, and I tend to tell him, son, you're just tired. You know, you're working 2 jobs. You're trying to save money so that you can travel around the world, and that's his goal. He wants to travel around the world. But for some reason, he just finds it hard to be happy in life. It's hard for him to, and no matter what he does, he says, it's Mom, it's hard for me to be happy. I don't know what it takes to be happy. And that's his biggest struggle right now, is just trying to find happiness. And as much as I just try to give him support and just listening to him, he just cries out because he's just not happy. So I'm calling to see if this mentorship would be something that would be good for him. The brotherhood, to join a brotherhood, to give him motivation on what it means to be happy.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. Thanks for calling in for him, and I appreciate you. And one of the things I know about in the work that we do, and the work we do in Ever Forward is mostly young men in middle school, high school. But, I'm on a men's team. So, where I go, and I didn't think about that when Hakeem asked about self-care. So I'm on a men's team. I meet with my men every Tuesday night from 7 to 10 p.m. And it's a place for me to go and take off my mask, right? So that I got men who are supporting me to become a better man as well. So what I would say, one thing I would encourage is that if you can have him reach out to me. Have you seen the documentary? Do you know if he's seen The Mask You Live In? Do you know if he's seen it?
I'm sorry.
Oh, well, if he hasn't seen it, I encourage you to have him watch The Mask You Live In. And one of the things I would say is that, this idea of happiness, like if you have decided what thing you have to get to bring you happiness, when you get that thing, you're going to make another thing that you're going to need. And what I would say is that...
too, and no packages. I'm sorry, I'm trying to check it.
No, that's
sorry,
fine.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I encourage. There's a lot of things I could say. I don't know, and there's a lot of layers. But I would say, have him watch the documentary. Have him reach out to us. I think I can invite him. He can come to one of my men's team meetings if he wants to be a part of a circle. I think that happiness is an idea of, I first got to become self-aware of my own self, right? And I think. Searching for it from a thing. If I'm searching for it from a thing, when I get to the place where I'm like, I'm not going to be happy until I serve 5,000 young men, and I'm not there yet. I'm always going to be. I'm never hitting the number. And when I get to 5,000, I want to search 10,000. I think it's just setting the goals and being realistic with what his goals are. But I would love to connect if that feels like it makes sense.
Yes. The topic tonight was on some very special work about a movement and a challenge, the Ever Forward Group, a community or family of brothers where all are the same. No one is different and everybody can be real. Ashanti Branch created a space beyond the classroom that allowed young men to be safe and remove the masks they had on. Masks that hide their anger, fear, and pain, holding the stories inside with absolutely nothing to gain. So he got the young men talking without saying a word, with an assignment that was given, and something amazing occurred. He said, write words to describe what you let the world see, but on the other side, what you don't let them see. He asks the questions that makes them reach inside, relentless, persistent and loving. He won't let them hide. Critically needed for our young men today. So participate in the 100K Masks Challenge right away. So Street Soldiers want you to see clearly the power of dealing with our masks. And please stay alive and free. This is Lady Estelle asking you to consider this.
Woo-hoo.